All right, everyone, welcome to the meeting. We're gonna pick up here. We're going to 8 spots this year on the taxi squad because now we have 2 draft classes to develop. We also, this is the rookie salary scale. You should all be familiar with this by now, but probably useful to look at again. And then
We're
reminder,
still, Travis, we're still doing unlimited movements on the taxi squad, like unlimited promotions, demotions.
yes, still
Okay.
unlimited, all that. So, RFA status, for those who don't know, for those who maybe traded Puka Nakua thinking he only had 1 year left on his deal, RFA status, which is going to be your rookies from last year and this year when they expire. But so they're given a 2 year contract. So next season, 2025, that means that you will have the ability to offer them an extension. One of these extensions, as you can see here, and then they will still enter the auction, but then you have the right of first refusal on that player. So what that means is like if I extend Puka Nakua for 3 years, 75 coins, and then Tyler comes in and offers 105 coins, and I don't want to match it, or first I could either match it and then he's still mine for 105 coins, or I could let Tyler take him, and then Tyler would owe me a first round pick based on the extension that I offered him. It's not based on the amount that he signed for. And then, so that's pretty much. So keep that in mind. Don't just like trade away all your second year players because their contract's expiring, because you can keep them for up to 3 more years. And
So I
also,
do want to, I do want to clarify, Travis. Everybody else will be able to see what the qualifying offer was. Like it's not like a blind qualifying
yes.
offer, so that'll probably flow through to the auction spreadsheet when the
Yeah.
time comes.
So, oh, come on, pop up. Thank you. So, if you look at this, it'll be on your team page. If this loads, it'll be on your team page. I'll show you in a sec when that's done with it. And then, so for next year, for 2025 will be the first one. So that you have to give up 2026 pick or 2026 and 2027 if it's this one. But if you don't have the like proper picks to give up, then your bid's just going to get thrown out because like you can't do that basically. And it doesn't have to be your pick. It can be a pick you traded for. So you could like make a quick trade to go sign an RFA, hypothetically. So it'll be down here. It'll show it. Probably not in the auction just because there's like not that much room on that page, but it'll say like RFA. And then you can go here and check. It'll probably say like RFA previously owned by whoever, and then you can go check their page. I don't think there will be that much poaching because of the picks you have to give up, but we'll see. All right. So keep that in mind. That's going to be important for strategy. And then now we're going to get into things to vote on. So on that note, Blake, would you like to discuss your thoughts on bringing in a third-year team option?
All right. So this is more of like a thought.
When do we vote?
This week, I'll make a form for you. Now, don't interrupt Blake.
Okay.
More of a thought for an open discussion. Than it was like
Blake, you got to turn your mic up or something.
Hold on.
Sorry, also didn't mean to completely interrupt you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Is that better?
That is much better.
Okay. So this was more of a thought for an open discussion rather than like an actual rule proposal that would go in like this year or even next year, perhaps, just because I don't know how many people in the league actually understand what a player option is. So I thought, we'd have Tyler in here, we'd have Kevin in here. Is Nick in here? I don't know. No, he's probably not in New York, but I assume the two of you guys know, plus me and Travis. So I was thinking about it and I figured if we're going to do like RFAs, what if we also added a potential for a 3rd-year option on that like person who would be an RFA? And if you took that option, after that extra year's up, they automatically become unrestricted. So you get them for 1 extra season with a small pay bump. We could figure that out, whatever it is. Or if you don't take that and you risk the RFA, let's say for Tyler, I guess, right, with Jordan Addison. He has a fucking monster year next year. And well, I guess it would be whoever you drafted this year. But let's just say that you drafted Jordan Addison this year, right? He has a monster rookie season next season. And you decide, I think when his 2nd year is up, no matter what I offer, someone's going to try to outbid me on him, right? So now you have to match that qualifying offer. What if instead you could just get him for 1 extra season? And then after that, instead of becoming an RFA, like he would like a normal rookie contract, he became unrestricted and just went to the free agency market. You get, you can only do it on what we say when we were talking about Travis, 1st-round picks.
Yeah, that's what it is in the NFL. It's 1st-round picks, and like you said, you have to-
1st-round pick. And then you would just safely get that rookie for 1 extra season rather than having to risk maybe a massive qualifying offer. So like I said, I just wanted an open discussion on it. If it was something we think this league could even handle with the people we have in it, but
Okay. Well, I would add to that. I didn't realize you meant to give up RFA status after that. I don't know if I see the appeal in that because then you're like your 1st rounders, mostly you're gonna want to keep around. So like on the if you gave him just a qualifying offer, even if it got matched, you could keep him for up to 5 years total then, because it's a 3-year extension.
that's true. But let's say for Jahmyr Gibbs then, right, for Noah, not a great rookie season just because he's splitting a backfield and Montgomery's still there for 2 more years, right? Do you want to offer a huge contract for qualifying next year because you know people are going to go after him, or just keep him for that 1 extra season and then try to get him back in free agency? It's just a strategy thing. So, or if you want to do it that way, we could extend it to 1st and 2nd-round picks and make 2nd-round picks more valuable.
I guess, but you can extend 2nd-round picks too.
I don't hate the idea, but I just don't really see like the value in doing it. Like if you just become a unrestricted free agent after that, because I feel like the only times you would do that is if like you're unsure on whether you wanted to keep him on your team long term. So it's like, I want to see how he does in year 3. But at that point, if you're just putting him up for team option, then you lose him to free agency anyways. I feel like with the RFA, you can kind of give him a qualifying offer based on however much term you want to see fit. And then I think the compensation kind of builds in like that backup plan in case you lose him. So I kind of like the system we have in place. I don't hate your idea. I just don't really see the value add with the current system in place.
The reason that I thought unrestricted after that was just to make it sort of a strategy thing. You have to decide whether or not you want to take the risk. But if people like the idea but don't like it because they come unrestricted after that, it's not like I'm like I said, open discussion. It's not like I'm hard set on them becoming unrestricted. It was just a thought. So like if people are interested in it but would like it better if they were stayed RFAs after that 3rd year, after you extend that option, and then in that case you would keep it only 1st-round picks. I mean, that sounds good with me, but I figured
So that's
maybe again, like I said, open discussion, not actual proposal. So I'm just trying to figure out what people think and add ideas to it if you think it's a cool thing or whatever. If no one, it is what it is. That's fine. But I thought I was just thinking about it,
I like it more to if you keep RFA for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be good with that if people are interested in that.
But then you get him up to 6, and the NFL rookie contract is 5. So now it's longer than the NFL one.
We're not the NFL.
No, we're
I
not.
think 6 is too much term. And then everybody would do the player option at that point if you keep RFA status. So you would get 6 years, like you said. Like nobody would probably throw out 3 years of term when they can get him for cheaper for next year and then do 3 years term, if that makes sense.
I also do think this might confuse some people.
Well, that's their problem. No ball better.
That's fair. But there are some non-cover 2 knowers in this league.
If you can't describe a cover 2, that's your problem. Learn it.
Kev, do you have any?
Fire up NCAA. That'll teach you what a cover 2 is.
Oh yeah.
Only if you know what you're looking at, though.
Kevin, Matt, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I understand the concept, and I think the concept is there. I think that it is a good idea to take at least to the rest of the league to say, hey, this is just something that we want to talk about. And if that's a thing that we can all get on board on, I think my biggest problem is that it does extend it to 6 years. And I mean, obviously I understand that we're not the NFL, we're not even close to that. But it would be nice for the sake of just like if you're keeping an eye on your contracts of your rookies and everybody else, it keeps it in line with how it's actually seeing out in the season too. So, I mean, I respect the idea for sure. I think it's something that we can always work on. I mean, I like it. It's just, I don't know if I'm in favor of UFA versus RFA right now, but I can see at least being a topic for, if not this year, but for the future too.
I also
Like I said, even when I brought it up to Travis, I said this isn't like a full proposal. It was just me spitballing, and then I basically said to him, if people are interested, we can figure out the logistics as the season goes on, coming to the next season, season after that, whatever it is. But like I said, it was just a thought. So
if you want to do that anyway, I'd say it's probably better to vote on next year.
yeah, 100%. I was never thinking about doing it this year.
I almost think
Yeah.
also too, like we should probably go through one RFA cycle too to see how it goes, rather than just like throwing this in. Because even the 5 of us who bothered to show up today, we don't really know how that's going to play out yet.
Yeah, no, like I said, logistics is something that would still need to be figured out. Even when I brought it up to you, I think in the text I said logistics is something we'd have to figure out. But
Okay.
yeah, like I said, I wanted open discussion. That was a good discussion. So
Yeah, I'd say we should table that for this year, but it's definitely something to keep on the back of your mind.
Yeah.
I like the idea because I like that you're taking it directly from the NFL, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and then I guess I should also just add, you would have to use that option prior to their final, so we're in 2-year contract. You'd have to extend that option after their first season.
Yeah.
But that's what the NFL does. So
Correct. Okay. We are going to move on now. All right. Here's a recap of the annual league calendar. So I'm not going to go through all this, but important dates coming up this Thursday, unless I'm busy, then it might be Friday. I'm going to come out with the holdout prices, and then that's when every other year following RFAs would start then, but that's when you can start to franchise tag if you want to right away. Franchise tags are going to be due 72 hours before the auction, whenever that is. We're going to get back to that in a minute. And then the way it's currently scheduled is the auction goes from the Hall of Fame game to the end of the preseason. And then we start. And we're going to, same as last year, I'm going to send out in the survey what days people are free, and that's just when we're going to have the rookie draft. That's also why I'm going to make for RFAs make it the next year, because some years the draft might be in the middle of the auction. So that's just going to be too much of a problem with whether you sign them before or after. So that it's always going to be the next year. Okay. Free agency auction. Nick has proposed that we move it back a week to August 8th, which is technically preseason week 1. The Hall of Fame game is preseason week 0, basically. So currently it's August 1st to 25th with a 72-hour bid clock. That's 8.33 iterations, which is if they dragged out your clock as long as possible, that's how many times you both combined could keep raising it. If we did cut it from August 8th to 25th, you'd only get 6, I believe, which that's like the only thing I'm worried about is that it wouldn't give you enough time to like keep rebidding, but like everyone would be forced to adjust and it would work itself out. So that's my only thought on shortening it. Does sound like Tyler's in favor of that though. I do understand that like a whole nother month of fantasy is a lot. And then my other proposed rule change is maybe reduce holdout price from 40 to 33% because I did feel like people were getting snagged like right at the holdout price one too many times last year. So I'm fine with lowering it to make it like you have to actually like keep raising it. Otherwise, like you do get a pretty good steal. And then I'm also wondering if maybe because there is the 5% increase rule, if maybe we should remove that for either on the holdout bid, because I don't think we ever clarified that last year. If on the holdout bid, you have to do it. And also, if you're crossing the threshold of years, do you have to do that? Or do we just say the extra year is like enough to be a jump? Any thoughts on any of those three things?
I'm cool with moving it back to August 8th. Nick shouldn't be penalized when it comes to the auction because he has to work the Olympics. I'm on board with him on that one. I'm cool with that. Doesn't affect me at all. So
I'm fine with that, but I don't want to like get in the habit of doing that every year.
well, this is, I don't know. I agree with you there, but I feel like these are kind of special circumstances.
Yeah,
He's in like 16-hour days for this. So
yeah.
At least in this situation, I'm cool with that. However, I didn't think about it until looking at this. I think that we should adjust the bid clock based on the stage we're in.
What do you mean?
So like for the 3-year contract only bids, right? 72 hours is perfect. Those are, the big players. Everyone should have the opportunity to sort of look at those for as long as they need to. But I think we should lower it as we get into like the next stage and then even lower on the stage after that.
But then if you're busy, then then it's like the same problem where if you're busy, then you can't like take a day off to do whatever you need to do.
I mean, I guess, but also when you get down into the 1-year contracts and even I argue even some of the 2-year contracts that are like literally on like the threshold or right above it. If you can't find 5 minutes out of your day before you go to bed to check, again, I feel like that's on you. With the
I was
three
hammered last year doing this, so like I still found the time. Like, I
yeah,
was in BFE camping.
yeah. So like the 3-year bids, like that first stage, it's what like we have like, is it the 3 days where you can only bid 75 and above?
Yeah, it's 72 hours and then another 72 till.
And I guess as well, there's something to think about where if you have like a 2-star bid that gets, or a 2-year bid that gets into 3-year bids, but you can, I mean, I can do it if you don't want to, but you can build code into sheets that says once you hit this value, raise the clock to this, right? So let's say there's a bid at 74 for someone and then it goes to 75, that clock can automatically get changed to 72 hours instead of whatever we would have made it at stage 2.
I don't know. What do the rest of you think about that?
I think it's adding an extra nuance that doesn't need to be there. I feel like that could get a little bit confusing.
I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous. Now, obviously, this got overturned because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. But you had like last year, Noah put like 15 3-year contracts out there with 2 minutes left in every single one of them.
Yeah, but those are all 3-year deals.
But my point is that when you get down into like the lower valued contracts, leaving it for 72 hours just seems stupid to me. If there's a guy you want that much on that value contract, get on the fucking computer and check. Granted, I want the entire bid clock lowered, but I understand why people want 72 hours for the first stage. So I'm not going to complain about that.
I mean, for me, I would be in favor of bringing it down to 2. No, I mean, for me, it allows you to recoup assets and see why I'm spending all of it in a 3-day period. I don't know if adding an extra sense of time in there would make sense. Just if, say, a Noah-ish like type thing happens next year, and say there's like kind of the same thing where it is like there's now and then here's the time that it expires for a player, and the whole like thing happens, everything breaks down, then you have to restart the bids, and you're like, okay, well, shit, now I'm 20 minutes away because I thought I had this player and I don't have any self-service. In a complete hypothetical, but I think it just allows some room for people to breathe a little bit and not have to pay so. I mean, I paid attention to my laptop every hour, but because I'm a nerd like that. But it allows people to breathe a little bit and say, hey, like I can put this bid in and have a little bit of like peace of mind to know that I don't have to check it again for a couple days to see if it got out there or not. It just makes the process easier to understand. I
And
think.
I don't disagree with that at all. The only reason I brought this up is because, like I said, I'm in favor of the bid clock being lowered for everything. And I see what you're saying about like having peace of mind to, you know, if you go out, you don't have self-service or something like that. But it's not like I'd be arguing for like a 1-hour bid clock or anything like that. It wouldn't be anything drastic. But I thought I argued last year, 3 days was too much. I mean, the reason that I brought it up that way last year was if you have a bid on someone and now you're waiting 3 days to see if you get them before you bid on someone else in case someone outbids you on your first guy, I thought was a little ridiculous. But everyone seemed to like 72 hours, so I wasn't going to argue the full thing. And then I guess Travis keeps saying that like he likes things as close to the NFL as we can get them, right? So this is kind of the opposite where you get more in the NFL, but I'm just kind of flipping it because that's offers extended versus time. So like in the NFL, your first stage, you get 5 offers and then 10 in the second stage and then 20 or whatever it is in third stage. So I just figured instead of going with how many you can offer on, if we just reversed it and progressively went down with the time, it would mirror that as close as we could in a fantasy relation. But like I said, it is what it is. If everyone wants 72 hours for everything, that's fine. But I think it should be lowered on everything. So
Okay, what about these last two, the holdout price and the 5% increase on the,
I'm good with both. I don't really care either way.
okay.
I'm good with both too,
100%
especially the last
for
one
the
makes.
holdout price
You guys say they're good with both, you're saying to change it or the way it was?
Huh?
I'm good with the proposed changes, like
Okay.
especially the last one, the remove 5% increase over holdout and going over the threshold for
Okay,
the term.
Yeah.
I think that one like for sure makes sense. Obviously that's only my opinion, but I'm good with both those two.
I agree, Tyler. I think especially with the last one, it makes more sense to do that anyway, because if no one is bidding on a guy for 2 years at 74 coins, or let me rephrase that. So if someone has a bid at 74 coins, they clearly don't want that guy for 3 years. You shouldn't have to go 5% above that to add an extra year if that person likely isn't going to rebid on it.
okay, we
That
do,
one extra coin for that one extra year makes sense.
alright, we do kind of have to keep this moving, I did just get a 10-minute warning. So we're either gonna have to keep this moving or load it up again. Alright,
Is that logic easy enough to build in the crossing threshold
yeah,
logic on the
that
bids?
wasn't like put in, that was just like manually enforced.
Okay, so you would just manually remove it if it wasn't like
Yeah,
sufficient.
right.
Got it.
It's pretty, if you saw the back end sheet, it's pretty easy to see, especially if someone complains about it, but either way, it's pretty easy to see.
For
Okay,
sure.
proposed change to the playoff structure. I think maybe first place should be worth a little more, and also keep in mind looking at these numbers. You already got your $30 playoff bonus before this, so it would just like put third and second closer to fourth, basically, and then put a little more money in the trophy. That's pretty self-explanatory we're gonna move on.
Good with me.
Don't hate it.
I'm proposing to raise the buy-in due to inflation. In 2020, I said we were never gonna raise the buy-in, and then I forgot that the world was literally going to shit at the same time. And now the dollar is not worth as much as it used to be. So I'm gonna put both these options on the ballot. You see the prices here. This would raise everything, so the weekly payout would go to like 6 and change. And then it would keep going up. And I think also over like the next 30 years, that makes a lot of sense. Because I imagine in 30 years, $75 is not worth the same. And then what?
Disagree.
Okay, it won't be exactly the same. It might come down. I doubt that though. I don't think that's ever happened before. Anyways, I'm also gonna make, because I just didn't formally say this last year, and I just took everyone's $75, and I just don't need to hold on to it for an extra month. So whatever we decide on that, I'm gonna take 1/3 before the auction, and then 2/3 at the draft of whatever the buy-in is. Okay. We need to come up with a solution for canceled games and scheduling issues. We talked about this last year, and then it just started such a big argument. We never even like got something to vote on. So we need to civilly discuss this and at least come up with a plan on something to vote on. So I would say for all weather injuries and like basically cancel games before the game kicks off and cancel games after the game kicks off is what we need to decide. And how that affects your line.
Well, if games are canceled before kickoff, it shouldn't matter because you can get an emergency player.
Unless it's Monday. But yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wouldn't hate proposing a rule of like, in case of emergency, in case somebody dies almost on the field again, like rare circumstances, that you could sub in, like theoretically you're next in line. So not like who scored the most that week, but who was projected to get the most. So like logically who they might have played instead of that person.
Okay, that's true because we can see the projection.
But that comes down to honor system too. And do we trust everyone in this league?
We could just
Well,
do
you can see the projections in Sleeper.
yeah, whoever
Also,
sleeper
we base
projects the highest.
strictly off of projections, not who they might have actually thought about playing.
Yeah.
Correct, because yeah, you would lie about it if it was the difference between a win or a loss, but like
Yeah.
projections are kind of set in stone. So like, not exactly saying that you just follow the projections every time, but like logically, the majority of the time, like that would maybe be the person next in line or in heavy consideration to be in the lineup.
At that position, right?
Yes, I mean, like if it was a flex, you know, it could be a receiver, running
Yeah.
back, but otherwise it has to be filling that position.
Okay, so what if we said that if it's Monday night or like Sunday night, if there's no Monday night game, we do that. Otherwise, you just have to use an emergency sub. Or
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, I like that. That's pretty simple too. All right, Cav, this is your time to shine. These next two slides now.
This first one is pretty much, I think it's more about the future in terms of the league. I think that it wouldn't be something this year, but kind of like Blake's, it'd be probably for the next 2 to 3 years. What my thought was that you take all of your scores against head-to-head opponents, and then you take your scores across the league and find a median average across all of the scores, and you play 2 games a week instead of just the one. So you can leave a week 2-0, 1 each, or 2 losses, essentially, and you can go against both your opponent that you're playing and the average across the league. So it takes out the risk and takes out the if somebody scoring like say 25 points in a week somehow, and like another person scoring 30, and then everybody else is scoring in the 110s, 120s, 130s. It evens that out, especially for the what's the game in the middle of 5-6 game, the
Yeah.
5 game. I think it would make it more appealing, and it makes you change like the way that you approach it. And again, it's not like you're rooting for yourself to just beat your opponent, but it's also like, here's how I and my team did the market and everybody else. Obviously, it takes out a little bit of fun with the Swiper Award and the Lions Award, but I would be willing to offset that fun with another win on my sheet.
Well, so first off, I like this idea. I've played in leagues before where you play against the league as well as against your head to head. It makes things even throughout. So that's the one thing that people need to think about is typically when you do this, it makes things more even throughout the league, right? So playoff races are going to be tighter, toilet bowl races are going to be tighter. So people need to decide if that's something that they want, which I'm okay with. I think I like the way that like this system is done. Like I said, I've done it before and it adds another element to the rest of the season. But as far as like it discontinues swiper, lions, etc., it really doesn't because whoever has the lowest score of the week is obviously going to have lose their game and go 0-2 against the average. So you still get the Lions award.
No, that's the Lump Award. The Lions Award is
The Lemp Award. I'm sorry, the Lemp Award.
I actually meant to change the name of this to the Chargers Award.
Well, you still could do Swiper and Chargers Award just based on the head-to-heads, though. It's
Well,
not like
I know we're running out of time here, but
the league other than bragging rights
that's
and making.
fine. We're gonna have to restart anyway, but it's fine. We got
okay. I was gonna jump in. I 100% like understand the logic. Like it almost makes too much sense, but I feel like a fundamental part of fantasy is just getting absolutely fucked over some weeks and absolutely getting super lucky some weeks. Like I feel like that's just part of the fun of fantasy football. So I see the logic in it. It's just not for me, but not saying that it's not a good idea. And I think, definitely warrants a discussion.
I'm with Tyler. I don't care. It's just not for me. I believe that sports are about beating the man in front of you, personally. But that it really just comes down to a matter of what you believe in.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this isn't something to institute in the next year. It's something that we can think about going forward. And even if we want to trial it for half a season and say, hey, we like this after 3 games, we don't like this after 3 games or whatever, then we can either move past it or include it in future seasons. So it's just something to think about. And then I don't know how much time we have left, Trav, but
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we could just see like after the year, like how much it would have changed the standing. So maybe like this year we kind of like have it under a microscope and see how it would have changed things. And then maybe next year implement it.
But as I mentioned, I mean, and then the other flex position, it's pretty simple. I probably have a minute, but
I'm gonna cut you off and I'm gonna restart the meeting now before you get to the next slide.
Okay.
Right. See you guys all in a minute.
all right. So essentially, the other part of my rule change is that I wanted to switch out the kicker for another flex spot. While I respect everything that kickers do and they bring to the game, I think that the impact that another flex spot would have is just allows for the league to score more points at the very end of the day. I mean, I get the fact that if you have a kicker, you can have a point like a week where they bring in minus points for your team, and that can affect the score props. But I think that the offset of the chance of you having a 20-point week from your other flex player allows you to use a starting spot as I think it brings more value to your starting roster as opposed to a kicker. And obviously, I understand that there are contracts out there that teams have theirs tied to a 3-year deal, 2-year deal, whatever. But I think there's a way that we can work through that and swap it out. I think that it's pretty straightforward. At the end of the day, it's about more points. And I think everybody would be in favor of more points. So
I, in theory, agree with everything you just said. And I am 100% for removing the kicker. I played in my other league this year with no kickers. It's a lot better. Lemp's going to be pissed to hear that, but it is. The only concern, which I just brought up to Travis before everyone got in when I saw the slide, was not only do we already have contracts in place and stuff that adding another skill position we'd have to work out, but it also affects salary cap. So we'd either have to increase salary cap or readjust every contract we already have in the league in order to viably add a second flex spot. However, if we just wanted to remove the kicker, like if people are thinking about, Travis, for example, who would have to go through and do the math on potentially readjusting contracts. If people just want to remove the kicker, I'm good with that. And then we could theoretically just take out an extra bench spot. I don't know how, or we would just leave it and remove the kicker, whatever we want to do. But I fucking don't give a shit about kickers. Get rid of them. I'm all for that.
I think not having a kicker is un-American.
Shut
I'm gonna be honest, I'm with Travis again on this one. Again, I see the logic in it, but I like the kickers in it. Like, it feels like a fundamental part that we would be losing. But again,
I agree with whoever's talking.
You know.
I will say,
Wait, did everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with whoever was just talking. Kickers are fundamental. Sorry.
Hey, I've had kickers score more than my flexes.
that is true, especially with our rules with like the 60
kickers
yarder
have
being
played
6
a
points.
huge role in this league. I mean, think about like, what was it, 3 years ago? The year that I before I made the playoffs, I lost like 4 straight games specifically because of a kicker.
I
Like he
definitely had a week where
like 2 field goals, they make a difference. I fucking don't give a shit if we get rid of them, but I'm just saying they make a difference in this league with the way that we have the rules.
I will
well,
say,
my kicker scored like 17 points the week that Lem scored like 34. So you got like half of Lem's whole score for that week, just my kicker.
I would also add, Kev, and I meant to text you this today, so I'm sorry I didn't. But we would also probably have to figure out some kind of compensation for Tyler and Lemp because they have Butker and Moody under contract for 1 more year. So
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. That's what Blake mentioned. And again, if it goes to a vote and it gets passed through, that's something that we can work through. Obviously, I think they're tied through end of next season.
Oh, Lemp has 2 kickers. Oh no, he has a rookie kicker also under contract.
Even if we wanted to institute it after the 2024 season, when those contracts are expired too, and bring it back up, like that's something that we can do once those, so we don't have to go
It's
through
gonna be,
the salary cap and stuff like that too. So
Well,
there's options there.
well, if we
even
did
if
that,
even
you'd
if we
still have to vote on that this year though, because there's gonna
Yeah.
be rookie kickers / Lemp's gonna go on more of a spending.
even if we waited though, getting rid of the kicker to add a flex spot, we'd still have to theoretically adjust salary cap just because of the contract value difference in those 2 positions. So you're getting rid of someone who costs maybe 10 coins to add another starting position that can be up to as much as, I mean, if they're in your flex, they're probably not a 3-year contract, but I mean, I was playing flexes this year that were 40, 45.
To your point, then, like depth type, like bench, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, like all probably theoretically go up in value. Like somebody who's like a wide receiver 4 or 5 that maybe is worth like 10 to 15 coins by like open market value probably increases in value because of that.
I agree, which is what
So I guess that's a good point.
Which is why I was saying, like, we'd still have to adjust salary cap. Or if we didn't up the salary cap because 1,000 is an even easy number, someone would have to go through and value out every existing contract to even out the additional skill spot. And what
Like a project for Kev.
And it sounds like it'd be Travis.
I would say it would be pretty funny kicking Jake Moody out of the league after he got me busted for drinking at LTU. So that would be a nice like double karma, even though he would never find out about this.
So I
I can link it to my buddy from Northville, and then he can let him know that he's out for the Mom's Fantasy League by declaration of Kevin Heiligenthal.
I like the idea in theory. I just think it adds a lot of work if we were gonna like actually make it work.
Okay, is that all anyone has to say on that for now?
Yes.
So Kev, do you want, I guess I can follow up text with you too, but Do you want me to alter this before we vote on it? Like, not say,
I mean, you can caveat it in a way that's like, if you do vote for it, you're also in favor of having to readjust salary cap. And then if you're fine with that portion of it, then you can vote yes. And then if you're not in favor of it, if you want to keep the standard lineups, standard starting roster, then so be it. And that's if it goes through and we turn around in a year and say, hey, this is actually fucking dog shit of a system, like we can readjust it back. Like I know it's a lot of math and I know it's a lot of like changes in Excel and changes in formula, but if you want to put it out there, just to even see a feel for how the league feels, that's fine with me.
okay. Alright, now to Cooper's proposal of removing the limit for trade. So I'm gonna go off on a couple tangents here. So first off, I'm gonna cover what the actual four sports leagues do, because like Blake said, this isn't the NFL, but I do try to keep an element of realism, more so to all four leagues combined, and like pick and choose which rules we like. But it is supposed to be like an actual pro sports franchise as much as possible. So in the in the NBA, you straight up can't retain salary when you're making a trade at all. In the NFL, you automatically retain everything that was a signing bonus when you make the trade, because that money is already paid, and then that gets sprinkled out over the years of the contract. So if you paid them, so if it was a 2-year deal and after year 1 you trade them, what you would take, half of the signing bonus would be dead cap the following year because you already paid it. And I think that the team acquiring him just wouldn't have that as part of their cap hit. In the MLB, there's no limit at all, but there is no salary cap either. And you can like straight up trade. There is an unwritten rule, it seems, because anytime you trade with money, it has to be approved by the commissioner. It seems there's an unwritten rule in baseball that if you just trade a player straight up for cash, it'll get rejected. In the NHL, which is closest to what we have, you can retain 50% of the player you're trading away, up to 3 players each year. You can also make it a 3-team trade to make another team take another half of that, so it's really 75%. But that was the idea I was going for, is something combining mostly the MLB and the NHL when I put this in. So I don't know if just completely getting rid of it is realistic, for one, and for two, I feel like there's a couple people who are just gonna completely blow up their salary cap to the point where their team is it's just unplayable for them to try to field the team. Now it's only a 1-year trading of the cap the way we currently have it, so I guess, and it'd mostly be after the auction, so I guess it'd be kind of hard to fuck it up. I feel like it'd make more sense to raise the limits than to just completely wipe them away, though. But I will
Agreed.
have to run that by Coop before we like officially put it on the ballot. But I do want your guys' thoughts on this.
I'm in favor of the current rule that's in place, and I think it sets like a nice barrier in place so people, like Travis said, aren't having like an entirely unplayable roster, giving away like half of their salary cap. And I also think, like, on the flip side, if you're contending and just getting a bunch of salary traded to you by the teams that are not contending, then that adds a lot of roster construction that needs to happen in the offseason, potentially, depending on the players you're acquiring. Because I feel like lots of times the good players you'd want in trades have term probably attached to them. And if you're going over the salary cap that year with people that have term, then you might be in salary hell the next year. And so I like the barrier being in place. I could see potentially raising it a bit, but I mean, I kind of like the rule that's in place, not to just shut on Coop's rule, but
I also say like it might not be fair if one team just gets like 1,400 or 1,500 to spend.
Right.
either.
Right.
I think that's what you were kind of getting at too, Tyler. Kevin.
Yes. Yeah. On the flip side. Yep.
So
I was
I
thinking
agree
there.
with everything Tyler just said. I like having the limit. I might have just misunderstood what you just said about someone having like 1,400 or 1,500. I mean,
Like
no matter what.
if you're able to just keep acquiring salary from other teams and one team is able to get up to like 14 or 1,500.
Yeah, but we have a cap of 1,000, so that wouldn't matter.
Well, right. I'm saying if you added like 400 in trades, like if you traded away like picks to add like 400, 500 coins of salary cap space, then you'd be able to get a bunch of really sick.
Unless I'm misunderstanding what a cap is, it's a literal cap, right? So even if they had 1,400,
Right,
if they
but-
were over 1,000, they're
Wait,
No,
still-
because
It's still-
if I trade you 50 coins of salary, now your cap's at 1050.
So
And then
that's
his is at
how
950.
salary works. Okay, I actually didn't
Yeah.
know that. 'Cause no one's
Yeah.
ever tried it before. That's interesting. Good to know.
Yeah.
Knowing that, I go for no limits. No, I'm just kidding. I'm all for having the cap, and I agree with everything Tyler just said. I like the current rule. If we wanted to raise it, I mean, maybe by a little bit, but I wouldn't go by much. I like the current rule. I think it makes the most sense and it keeps things the most fair.
Okay.
However, maybe what you do is you just take away the max per trade, but leave the max per season. So it doesn't matter how much you give up in a certain trade, but you can still only go 200 per season.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's not a bad idea.
Because I mean,
As an alternative.
if we, yeah, as an alternative, if we did that, right, like we would have avoided the issue with Cooper and Adams trade last year.
Right.
Nick wouldn't have gotten that extra player. I don't remember who it was.
Pretty sure it was Rashad White.
Wait, yeah.
And in the reality of things, it doesn't really actually change anything because you're still not getting any more per season.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess I'll run them both by Coop and I'll ask him how he wants to sort it. But I think do we all agree that just completely removing it doesn't make sense?
Yeah.
I don't want
Right.
to just solo
But-
Dick Coop's proposal, but if we all agree that completely wiping it doesn't make sense, then I'll give him some options and then see what he wants.
Right. Yeah, I think if anything, like Blake's alternative is what should be on the ballot to be voted on. But I mean, maybe every single other person not on the call is totally in favor of this. Which I mean, the three people that were involved in it are all not on the call, but that
Well,
might have been more like, hey, this is kind of a loophole that we're finding in the system versus like actually believing against the rule that's in place.
I also think Nick was only involved in that trade as a way to, he was offered an opportunity. I don't think he would have actually have an issue. I don't think he has an actual issue with like the current rule. Like they texted him, was like, hey, we have this opportunity for you. And he was like, fuck yeah.
yeah. Nick
was-
got to add a top 10 running back. I don't
I
think he's
agree.
trying too hard about it.
So, but
But
yeah,
let's be fair, he was not doing that hot before Nick acquired him, and then he touched the steamers, and then he started doing good. So maybe something about the beans, oats, and berries or whatever they feed over at the Cleveland Steamers. But
yeah, I think a good alternative is just remove the per trade cap and leave the season cap.
Okay. Matt, do you agree with all of that?
Yeah, I like taking away the per trade, but keeping the season for sure. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. I will run that by Coop, but I like that. Okay. We're getting down to it now. We're almost done. This is actually like the last one that we're really going to talk about. So last year I tried to nerf the defense because a little bit, and I got like pushed back hard on it because I don't know, you guys just love your fucking defenses, really. But really what I thought is I didn't like the way that punts, because defense, I believe, is all about getting the ball back to the offense. And I didn't like the way that punts were like so close to, like, basically a punt is the equivalent of getting a sack because the sack and attack for loss are half each. So combined, that's 1. So this year I'm gonna try going in the opposite direction, saying, what if we just raise punts and 4th down stops to 1.5, which is half a turnover, which is basically what it is, because it's a turnover minus 50 yards. Or it's a missed field goal, but like that's a big jolt of energy also.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't care one way or the other, so I'm
Okay.
gonna abstain from this conversation.
I don't know, I feel like your point was to try and nerf defenses, and this would just make them
This would
more
make it
OP.
stronger. Yeah, but everyone seems to want strong defenses. But my main concern is to not have sacks and tackles for loss be so strong relative to gaining possession back.
But okay,
I
so
don't disagree, but like those type of plays put you behind the sticks that theoretically lead up to the punt
yes, that's where I that's
and
what
or 4th down stop. So like I think it's a little bit double accounted for if we were to raise it to 1.5. Like I just think like if you're getting a sack or tackle for loss, you're probably helping force the punt anyways.
Yeah, but you could also force a punt by giving up 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard.
Theoretically, yeah. But
you lose
I would
points giving up those yards.
Exactly. But those are 3 good plays in a row.
I'm just saying, like I said, I'm indifferent. I mean, I don't really care one way or the other, to be honest with you. In our league, it seems like the defenses that go crazy are the defenses that force a lot of turnovers, not the ones necessarily that get a lot of sacks. So I don't really have an issue with the current scoring for defenses, but I also wouldn't cry if they went up to 1.5 for punts and 4th down stops. Like, I don't care. I'm about as indifferent to this as I can be to anything.
Okay. Kev, any thoughts?
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of a mix between everybody because I mean, I have the Jets defense, say the Jets defense, like say they get 3 sacks in a row and then they get a punt, that's just more points for me. So, I mean, I'm all for just more points at the end of the day. And I don't really care how I get them. If you want to increase them, that's fine by me. If you want to take them away, that's fine by me. So,
Okay. Matt, any thoughts?
You're asking me?
Yes. Any thoughts on
No, I plead the Blake on this one. I agree. Does not matter.
Okay. All right.
But we know Noah's in favor.
I need a mailing address from anyone who has moved. That is definitely Matt, and it might be Kev, but not that that one really matters. But did you
It
move
wa-
last July,
was-
Kev?
my division, I moved a mile down the road. So,
Okay, I need your mailing address then.
okay.
So you need my mailing address because I need my goddamn football. All right.
What about your Peacock football?
No, I don't want the fucking Peacock football. No corporate sponsors on my damn trophy. All right. That is it. Any final thoughts before I hang up and we go do the lottery?
I just want this on video. I sincerely hope Lemp ends up with the 7th pick, or I mean the 4th pick.
I would.
That's okay with
I
me.
hope everyone who loses from here on out after it happened to me, gets the 4th pick.
Like
Fuck
the
off.
odds of you getting the 4th pick were like
Astronomical.
It's
I know,
literally
Hello.
right on the screen right now.
which is why I think it was
Oh,
rigged.
yeah.
It was stolen. Stop.
7.8%.
Fake news.
Noah's gonna get it and draft like a kicker or defense or some shit.
Can't draft defenses in a rookie draft. However, we should give him the opportunity to do so if he chooses.
Listen,
Oh, he
I'm
would do
all
it.
for
And then you take it.
I have a proposal. We can let Noah draft one D end or one corner and then go for it.
Let Noah draft.
Or
Let
if
Noah
there's an
draft.
expansion team, we'll let him draft an expansion team if that ever happens.
Let Noah draft Kool-Aid McKinstry. Actually, Noah would probably go for Cooper DeJean, and we all know why.
It's fucked up.
Talk to Noah about it, not me.
So pretty much what I gathered from this whole meeting is Matt should have gotten Jimmy G against Adam, and
No, we
Yeah,
already
small
took
story.
care, Matt, we took care of that last year. Okay, there's no need to bring up old beef.
hey, I'm just saying.
Alright,
All right, let's get the lottery done.
good meeting, boys. I will see you in the chat FaceTime. We'll see.
Sounds good.
people-
Thank you, Travis.
Thanks,
Thanks, Travis.
Travis.
Thank you guys for your cooperation.
We
You fellas.